we are required to do professional growth, as many of you in your roles do. And Janice and I chose to read a book called Lead Small as part of our professional growth as dorm parents.
There's a discussion group along with it with other dorm parents. So.
And what we realized is that a lot of the concepts in this book really apply to other areas of life and things like that. So we wanted to share with you some of those things that we gleaned from the book. We will be sharing some comments and things straight out of the text, and then we'll share how that applies to us as dorm parents. Dorm parenting is not a simple task.
Parenting isn't easy.
I mean, there's some we talk to that say, oh, you just get to hang out with the kids and have a good time. It's a lot more than hanging out with the kids. So going through our presentation today, I hope we can share with you some lessons from the book, but also how that applies. We have in no means arrived as dorm parents. We're always learning, we're always growing. Every new group of girls that comes in carries their own special things. So we just want to share with you a little bit today. So Janice, you want to...
Let me take over here.
I am.
Are you gonna hold her up? All right, here we go. I do better from a script, so here we go. Studies indicate that at least half of students will walk away from their faith in college. Anybody hear statistics about that? Yep. Think about their stage of life. They're young, they have a lot to learn, a long way to go, have yet to experience life at the fullest. Their faith is, to some degree, unchallenged. That's our big challenge. That's our big challenge. Okay, we want a generation to grow up holding on to a faith that is rooted in Scripture. We want kids who place their trust in God, not only in a moment at VBS or the last night of camp, but every day. We want them to have a really big faith, an authentic faith. The only way to cultivate authentic faith is by leading small. Now, we want to share some lessons that we've learned and some concepts we've been able to apply as dorm parents and beyond.
There are 5 main points in the book. The first point is being present. And this comes from a small group leadership perspective. Okay, so as a dorm, we are a small group. You guys have care groups and things like that, small group. Sunday school classes, small group. So there's a lot of ways where this can be applied. So being present, and we'll explore each one of these principles. Create a safe place. Partner with parents, which in some cases doesn't really apply. Make it personal, and then move them on. The picture is every Friday we have a chapel, typically outdoors, where we do a flag raising ceremony, and we have a presenter give a chapel service.
Once a week when the entire school gets together. And it's just so fun to be outside in that alumni court area together. We sing the Kenyan national anthem and raise the Kenyan flag. If you ever want to hear Lamar sing it in Kiswahili and English, he'll do that for you, just not right now.
He has great faith in me. My Kiswahili is kidogo sana. Very
we
little.
can sing the national anthem. All right. Next slide is be present. Show up predictably. When you are a part of a small group, a lot of times you have standard meetings. With us, we do that as well. There are some things that are predictable and they're standard meetings. Everyone needs someone who knows their name and what's happening in their life. Somebody who they can count on to always be around. Our dorm girls don't get a choice. We're their people. They don't get to vote for us. They don't get to ask which dorm they go into. they get stuck with us. But we try to show them that we are happy to be their stuck people. So,
And that predictability, that comes out in many ways. Every Tuesday night, we have a dorm meeting. At our dorm meeting, we give them information for the coming week. We share prayer requests. We go through a devotional with them. But predictability can also be me sitting at my spot on the couch. They know when they come through the door, they're going to see the old bearded guy sitting there waiting to interact with them, God willing. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but anyway.
but then Aunt Janice is hanging around.
Yeah.
The other thing is, whenever we're not in our apartment, we have a little whiteboard out there that says where we are. We always let them know how they can find us. We're on campus. If we're off campus, we let them know that ahead of time, and they can message us. And there's always another staff member who's been tagged as their on-call person. So there's always predictability in that. So showing up mentally, it's one thing to show up physically. It's entirely a different thing to show up physically and mentally. In order to really show up mentally, you need to be prepared, awake, and engaged. There are times we would love to just kind of fade into the woodwork and not have to answer their questions. If we're having a rough day, sometimes it's hard, but we are on. And so we have to intentionally make sure that we are always engaged when somebody walks through our doorway into our living room and says, hey, Aunt Janice, I need to talk to you about so-and-so, or do you realize what just happened today? Those types of things.
And honestly, this is something that gets in the way of that. Because I can be sitting on the couch looking at YouTube videos.
I think he's doing work emails.
But Janice can be having a conversation with me. Yeah.
I'm sure this doesn't happen in your life.
But I'm there physically. I'm not there mentally. Okay. And I need to be cautious of that. So. Yep.
Showing up randomly. This is kind of one that isn't spoken of often, but I want you to listen to this. Never underestimate the power of showing up randomly. Here are a few examples. A phone call, a text message, social media post, birthday card, showing up at an event. I need you guys to hear that we've got up to 18 girls in our dorm. They can be involved in multiple sports, music, drama, and the list goes on. We're the parents. We get to go and watch them all at the same time. And it's one of those things where their parents, living in whatever country they live in, they would love to be sitting there watching those games, cheering their kids on. We get to do that for all of them. And so you will see us scurrying about, because there will be the field hockey team on lower field practicing, and then there will be the girls' football team, soccer. They call it football over there. Over on upper field playing. And then there will be girls up at the drama building practicing for the fall drama later on. So it's kind of interesting trying to get to all the places. This is why God normally doesn't give you 18 children at once.
When it's awesome, if they score a goal or something during a game and they come home and they're all excited and they say, hey, I scored a goal today. And we say, yeah, we saw it. It was awesome. The look on their face, they just light up when they know they've been seen.
I would also think here, showing up randomly would look different. The people in your lives, what things they're involved in. For you just to show up at something that's important to them would mean all the world. So just take that as a suggestion.
Okay, creating a safe space or a safe place is another thing that is very important. And part of that is leading the group, respecting the process, and guarding the heart, and we'll explain those a little bit. So
Picture on the screen there, you can see Uncle Lamar, and it's his birthday. Notice the birthday banner, and he's surrounded by all his girls. It was arrival day. So they had just, it was January 3rd, so they had just traveled from whatever country they live in to be back at school, and we got to celebrate Uncle Lamar. He likes having his birthday right near arrival day because he gets to give the girls treats, you know, cake. Who wouldn't want cake?
well, my
Yeah.
gift is them coming back.
Yeah, and so that's our living room there. So we do try to create a safe place for them. And as we develop our dorm family, we try to lead them by demonstrating that we value acceptance, confidentiality, and honesty as members of that group. Sometimes, well, there's no checklist for developing an authentic faith. It's a continual process through time, life experiences, and reflection. It's a continual process through time, life experiences, and reflection. Churches and homes need to be safe places where people can ask questions, wrestle with them, and allow them to clarify their authentic faith. You don't need to have all the right answers, but you need to be willing to seek answers with them. This is where you need to respect the process. I don't know how you guys came to your faith. Maybe it was a simple journey. Maybe it's been a simple journey. Maybe you're still journeying. I feel like we're still journeying, and we're old. There are always things to wrestle with, things, you know, that come up in the world that make you say, Lord, I don't know what you're doing here, but I'm going to trust you. And the students, our students, people in general, need to know that we as Christians are confident enough in our faith that we're willing to ask questions and wrestle with things. So we need to respect that process, no matter what age, and not just, try to give them Sunday school answers and say, there, that's how it is, and move on.
Well, many of our girls know all the right answers.
Yeah.
You know, they come from a Christian family. Their parents are missionaries. They hear evangelizing all the time. They hear all the messages all the time. So they can tell you all the right answers. Mm-hmm. But do they own that? Is it their own? And we encourage them to ask questions, dig deeper, and find out what is truth. And when they do that, then that truth is real to them. It's not their parents' truth. It's not what they hear all the time, but it's their truth. And if it's their truth, then it's going to stay with them. If they never take the time to really wrestle with questions they have about their faith, when troubles come, then it's going to be like those trees on campus that are just falling down right now.
When you successfully create a safe place, kids will trust you and will share personal things with you. Sometimes they reveal some things that can create emotional tension. Sometimes they've been hurt. They've hurt others. Sometimes they're hurting themselves. Sometimes you'll need to seek the help of someone in a position of authority to help you with that. We need to make sure that we establish boundaries for them and ourselves. This is where we need to guard the heart. We need to guard their hearts, and we need to guard ours. We have had situations where girls have shared some very tender things with us. And they're things that we can come alongside them with, to walk with them. But we also need to know when it's appropriate to bring in other people to help. And RVA is a great place to provide resources like that. So please know that we're not trying to fix everything ourselves. So we have a great team that we work beside and work together with, so that when things come up that are beyond our scope, we've got supports.
And this is a difficult area because when somebody shares something with you that is very serious, very deep, and it's beyond your scope, being able to say to them, I think we need to take this to the next level, doing that in a way that they don't feel betrayed by you. That's difficult. And sometimes we've been successful with that. Other times we've not been successful with that. But it's an important conversation to have, that we love them, we care for them. And this is something that we need to bring in other qualified people to help with.
And the other part that goes into this is that, like, if we do this well, they'll have the opportunity to open up and clarify their faith in a safe place with us, with their parents, and beyond. So I think this is one of the most crucial, tender topics that we can deal with in our realm. And I'm sure, you can think about places in your life where maybe you've gotten into some emotional topics. Remember, you're not called to fix everybody, right? That's his job, right? So.
And even in matters of faith, if they're questioning something about their faith, there are different responses that you can have. Some responses shut down all conversation. Other responses that you give can invite that person to go deeper with you. So you need to be very cautious. I mean, even if you've had a rotten day and they come in and want to ask you a question, something about their faith or something personal, need to think first how we respond, so we're not getting a shutdown response. So we want to invite them to open up even more. Oops.
All right, the next topic is partnering with parents. Now, for us, this is a big topic. If you are working with a youth group or something like that, yes, you're going to be partnering with parents. Maybe some of you are working with a different, like, community group, civic group. You're not maybe dealing with parents, but you're working with colleagues, and maybe there's a hierarchy there of some sort. So we're just asking you to try to see how you can apply this in that setting. But for us, partnering with parents, if you take a look at that photo, that is a picture of the end of term. One of the many times that we gather at the buses outside of Centennial Chapel, the travel coordinator standing up on the wall with her clipboard and giving her instructions for all these kids who are getting ready to ride in a bus to go to a train station or an airport or a shuttle drop off. Passports in hand, kids 4th grade and up, 4th grade through 12th grade, traveling cross country, cross continent, actually. Sometimes making multiple stops. This is where we're sending them back to their parents. So this is just a little snapshot into one of those moments in our lives. All right, at best, you will have temporary influence as a small group leader. By default, a parent has lifelong influence. So one of the most important things we can do is cue the parents. Let them know what our goal is in helping their child grow in an authentic faith, and that we want to help them win as a parent. We're partnering. We're not taking the place of their parents. We're just filling in the gap while the parents can't be with them during their school terms.
And how do we cue the parents in? If we see something going on with an individual girl, we can reach out individually, typically through WhatsApp. That's one of our main ways of communicating. But also every Sunday evening, I send out a broadcast to all the parents using WhatsApp and just give them a synopsis of what happened during the week, what events there were, and we send pictures along, things like that, so the parents can get an idea of what's been going on in their daughters' lives.
We also try to let them know what topics we're discussing at our dorm meetings so they can have similar conversations with them at home if it's right before a break. But also, our girls talk to their parents, some of them daily, some of them multiple times a day, and some of them it's weekly. So whenever the parents have time set aside to chat with their students, it's always good to cue the parents of some things that are going on in their lives, so that they can have healthy conversations with them. This is also a way to honor the parents. Here's something that happens. Sometimes students portray situations at home from a much different perspective than their parents. Does that happen here? Okay. We have to remember to reach out to the parents too, to better understand what conflicts are happening or what conversations are happening on their end. If we would just take the girl side, that's not fair, right? So, so in order for us to partner well with them, we need to honor the parents and make sure that we're seeking all sides, because, teenage girls, sometimes they're a little dramatic. Sometimes.
Yes.
No offense to the teenage girls in the audience.
Why are you crying? I don't know. That's always a good one.
It happens often, really often. And the last one here is reinforcing the family. We need to remember that there are teachable moments, bonding experiences, and meaningful conversations that parents want to be included in. We get to participate in a lot of things moment by moment, day by day with these girls. The parents wish they could be there for those moments. And we try our best not to steal moments from them. If there are things that need to happen at home, we try to do our best to make sure we're not like stealing the parents' thunder. We want to give them the opportunities to have certain conversations. I know the one thing that happened last year was one of our girls had been really trying to figure out when she wanted to take the step to commit to Christ. And she was a sophomore, and she was like, she knew she wanted to do it. She just wasn't sure when. And one night when I went around to say good nights and turn off lights, she said, "Aunt Janice, can I tell you something that happened today? This is not unusual." Sure. Aunt Janice, do you know what happened at lunch today? No. Please tell me. She said, "Well, I invited 2 of my friends to go after lunch on Lower Field. And we laid on the grass, looking up at the sun and the clouds. And I asked Jesus into my heart." And I said, "That's so fantastic. I'm so proud of you." I said, "Did you tell your mom yet?" "No." Like, kiddo, I bet your mom and dad would be so excited to get a call from you. She says, "I will tomorrow. But I wanted to tell you first." That's one of those moments I'm like, Lord, I don't know why I got to be the first, but thank you. But it's stuff like that. I wish I could transfer that moment to that set of parents. But I'm sure that they were happy when they did get to hear it. So anyway. Ooh. Next one, making it personal. All right, take a look at that crew up there. That's our community. We need to live in community as small group leaders. We need to make sure that we have a group of people who are building us up, calling us into account, helping us grow. There's no denying the power of example. So we need to inspire their faith by our examples. So we have a community of fellow believers that provide a healthy outlet for us to process our faith. That's our crew. We meet together. There's a couple in there that every Wednesday evening on our night off, we take turns having dinner at each other's houses, and we just spend time together. It's our small group. And then the rest of them, that's our main small group. We meet with them occasionally when term breaks come and RVA is not having regular Sunday morning services. We actually do house church together with them. So that's our crew. And we weren't trying to cut off Lamar's face. He was doing a selfie. Like, we're still working on that. We're still working on that. Anyway, that's our community. Priorities, set priorities. The only way you will effectively be able to discuss authentic faith with your few is if you are experiencing authentic faith in your own life. So it's great when we reach out and want to work with other groups, but we need to make sure that we're working with our own community too.
If you're
Building.
encouraging them to have personal devotions and they don't see you having personal devotions, if you encourage them to pray, but they never observe you praying, those kinds of things, you have to demonstrate the things that are priorities in your life in order to be able to effectively communicate to them about priorities. So what they see in you is going to speak more to them than what you say to them.
This last one's one of my favorites. Be real. Find ways to relate to your few without compromising who you really are. It's more important for them to see a real live person that is still growing, learning, and trying to live out authentic faith than it is for them to have another friend. I feel like that's something that we strive to do all the time, whether it's in this kind of a setting, it's with our girls, it's with our own family, it's out and about wherever we are. We want to be real. We have hurts, we have struggles, we have aches, we have pains, we have histories, we have futures, we have all kinds of things, and not all of it's pretty, right? It's hard. I guess we just want to always demonstrate that no matter what, God is faithful through all of it. And the Christian life does not mean that it is perfectly beautiful and everything's happy rainbows and unicorns. It's not. But there's hope, and we have a future in heaven. That's what it's all about. And so, yeah, our girls get to see us, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but they also know that we love them no matter what, and we'll always do our best to point them to Jesus. So that's, to me, one of the easiest things for us to do is to just be real.
And then one of the hardest things sometimes is to move them on. This is some of our previous girls shared this picture with us. And it just, to me, just is a visual depiction of what we're to do. We have them in 9th and 10th grade. And then we had the opportunity to move them on to someone else. We try to encourage the girls to have multiple adults in their life who are speaking into their lives. Every adult is different. Every adult has different experiences, and to have multiple people speaking into their lives is critical.
So engaging their faith in a bigger story is what we're going for. We try to move them on to someone else. You know, we're doing our part to encourage them to have other adult influences in their lives, whether it's a mentor, a coach, a class sponsor, somebody. And we recognize that one of our biggest seasons is at the end of 10th grade, when we hand them over to their 11th and 12th grade dorm parents. Yeah, it's a thing. We'll move on. Move them to be the church. This is about connecting and engaging your few with the bigger story, encouraging them not to just attend church, but to be a part of participating in the mission of the church.
I don't know, Joel, do you remember many, many years ago, I gave you a t-shirt that said, "Don't go to church, be the church."
Yep.
And that's what we want to encourage our girls to do, to get involved in church, to participate in the worship teams, or, song leading, things like that. There's so many things that they can do. There's outreaches they can go on to reach out into our community. We want them to be involved. If all you do is warm up a spot on a pew on a Sunday morning, there's so much more that you can do. And we try to encourage them, even at their young age, to be involved, to invest in what's going on in the church and become a part of that.
And then moving them on to what's next. No matter the age or stage of your few, they will eventually face a life transition. How you prepare them for and walk them through that time can ease the growing pains and anxiety to make them feel more comfortable about what is next. When you move them on, you engage them in a bigger story as they meet new role models, discover their significance, and transition through life. So as we were saying, one of our biggest seasons is at the end of their 10th grade year. We're busy trying to make connections with them, with their new dorm parents. But then at the same time, we're getting ready to welcome a new set of girls, the 8th graders, who are rising as 9th graders into our dorm. So last year, I'll tell you about a beautiful thing that happened. Let me take that. As we were preparing, we had our current girls write notes to the incoming girls, so that when they arrived in August, they were greeted by an index card by one of our Kedong Middle East graduates. And so it was just somebody who had spent time in that dorm, maybe even in that room, just welcoming them into that space. Our girls took it a step further. When the lists were posted as to which girls from 8th grade were going to be moving into our dorm, they sought out a couple of those girls and invited them to come and take a tour through the dorm. They said, "Would you like to come and see where you're going to live? Would you like to come and ask us some questions?" And they said, yeah. And they said, "Okay, well, we need to ask Aunt Janice and Uncle Lamar." The girls came to us, and I'm like, absolutely. It was so organic. It was precious. It came straight from their hearts. I couldn't have planned it better myself. It was just so sweet to see these, 10th graders becoming 11th graders, looking at those junior high 8th grade girls, taking them down the hallway, telling them crazy stories about Uncle Lamar already. And here we did this, and just hearing them talk about the memories that they had about this place that they called home for 2 years. And it was just precious to hear that. So now I'm like, okay, is that something that we start doing every transition year? We'll see. It also helped us as we were preparing for this season. I don't know if you realize how much thought and prayer went into when we told our girls we were going on home assignment this term. It was a process. When we revealed it, we contacted their parents first, cued the parents, so that they knew what was coming, because some we knew would be very emotional about it. Some would be like, okay, no big deal. Missionary life. People come and go all the time. Okay. But we had to figure out when to tell them. We had to figure out when to tell our former girls, because their current dorm parents are going on home assignment first term. So from August through December. So that's a lot of change, you know, when the people that they're closest to are going off continent for periods of time. And then we had to figure out, how do we introduce the substitute dorm parents to them? So we ended up having a Friday night family night activity where we did a WhatsApp video chat live with them in our living room. We warned them about it ahead of time. We said, here's your chance for Q&A. What things do you want to know about your new dorm parents? And I said, here are index cards, write out questions that you want to have asked. If you're feeling brave, courageous, ask away. If not, hand them to me, I'll ask for you. They all handed me the cards. But it was a fantastic time just having that interaction. All of those things lead into a good handoff. We've gotten some responses from the substitute dorm parents who have said, thank you so much for preparing us so well to be received. And I feel like that's what we're called to do. Hand over to hand over to hand over. So that's you.
All right, so the best example of a small group leader is there on the screen. He invested in 12 people, right? And we have the opportunity to invest in other people in our lives. When you lead a small group, it gives you the opportunity to connect, to clarify, engage, nurture, and inspire authentic faith. We want those that we're investing in to be able to grow and have that true authentic faith. There are people here at Faith Church who invested in me over the years. And I'm grateful for that. In times when they saw me not behaving well as I was growing up, I learned years later that they were faithful in praying for me. And how beautiful to be able to have a discussion with an older person in your life that you find out that they were praying you through. Just fantastic. And I'm very grateful for all the known and unknown hours that were invested in me as I grew up in this church.
Well, and us as a young couple.
Yep.
And a young family. So Faith Church, you guys have opportunities here. We see you guys are involved with, having Sunday schools, youth group. You work with church world services, the prison ministry, care groups, and then reaching out in the community with the CVCCS and seeds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What about you? Outside of that. So our challenge to you is Matthew 28. It's an oldie but a goodie. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. For surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. How can you apply these concepts within your own sphere of influence? I know it's happening here. What about out there? Not everybody gets the opportunity to live overseas to be a missionary. But y'all are missionaries right where you are. You're all called to serve here and here.